Okay, well, let's see. Yeah, let's create a new database in here. So I'll do this way. You can use the command, or you can do this way. That's using the Studio version. Okay, then we can go ahead and I just put this one here, unit 6 dB. Click OK. So we have the unit 6 dB here, and then go ahead and click the new query. Okay, so make sure it's in the drop down over here. I'll see. Okay. All right. So if you want to see what the constraints are inside a table, for example, inside the AP, if you go here into the tables, you see they have a lot of here the maybe invoices, right? If you go into invoices, you see that in the keys folder you have a couple keys in here. The gray keys are your foreign keys, and as you look at the name, FK underscore invoices underscore terms. These are probably created by the author themselves. Otherwise, you'll see a long string of numbers attached after that. So maybe in the adventure to work, for example, if I go in here and click on one of these tables, the employees table, for example, let's see in the keys. Okay, you see that, well, this is also created by the programmer. Okay, but you'll see one when we create one. So let's just say the invoices here, okay, table. If you go in here and if you type in, well, I want to make sure I use the AP. You can do that. You can use AP, right? Either way. And then put like execute. You can type there just EXEC or the whole word execute. It's either way, it doesn't matter. SP and then help constraints. Okay, and you put a table name in here. Would be like the invoices table. Okay, and since we already selected, it doesn't matter. But if I were to go back to like the unit 6 dB, then you want to make sure you select both of them. Okay, that's why it doesn't. It's expecting that it's in the unit 6 dB. So if I click that and execute, it will list some information down here. And I know it's a little bit hard to see, but you can do some magic here. There you go. Is it better? Ooh. Oh, now that's okay. So you have two default constraints, right? You have two foreign keys and one primary key. And the word clustered here, we'll talk about this later. You have to cluster the non-clustered indexes. So if you look at the names here, the DF just tell you that, oh, this is a default. What does it mean, default? Default means you have some default values, right? So if you look on the right side, you have the constraint here. The keys default is 0, 0. So that means if this column, whatever this column is, if you look at this, it gives you some clues here. So that's why we name your keys. Make sure they are meaningful. So when you look at this, you know exactly what they are, what they mean. So in this case, it's in the invoices table, a column called credit total. This one here has a default credit total of default is 0 as the value for these two columns here. So that means if you add data to this table, and if you don't supply the values for those two, then the default will be 0. Okay, you can change that to a different number if you want. So that means that these two columns should also be allowed no values, right? So you don't. So when you add the data, you don't have to put some numbers in there. And then the foreign keys here, again, the terms and the vendors. You see something here called delete action and then update action. What this two means is that when you delete data that affects this foreign key here, okay, does it cascade to the parent table or not, right? So back to the question we had earlier about how you delete an ID from the department data. It didn't allow you because you have some referential integrity with the child table. So if you were to say, oh, to delete that, you would have to delete data from the child table first, and then go back and delete from the parent table. Okay? But if you set this action to, let's say, action, or true, then if you delete data from a child table, that will actually cascade up to the parent table and automatically delete record from there as well. So without having to issue two commands, you just do one command in the child table, and the parent table will also be deleted as well. Okay, so it's really handy, also quite dangerous too. So that's why it's preferred to set it as no action. Okay.
Is that bidirectional too?
I'm sorry. What?
Is that bidirectional if we're set?
It's bidirectional. Yes. And then same thing with the update here, right? The update here, let's just say again, if you update the data inside, let's just say you have a parent table and has an ID of something, let's say 5, and you have 3 or 4 tables underneath it. The child tables all have the share that foreign key or primary key from the 5. And if you change that to in the parent table, if you change it to a different ID number, then it will cascade down to all those child tables, and they'll be modified automatically, which is good in this case, right? So you don't have to go and manually update each of those child tables, and you just set that to actionable, and then it will do that for you automatically. So that's a plus there, okay, and make that enable. So if you look over here, you have the constraint keys. It will be just, it tells you also reference the terms table, the terms ID, right? And the vendor ID here references the vendors table, vendors ID. So some information here. So in any table you can do that with the execute and then SP for store procedure underscore help constraint. And if you just want to know the information about that table, just put the help here, and then it will tell you just about the information here. And then I also asked you kind of to do that for the assignment as well. As you notice, you can see that it also shows you all these keys too. It just shows more information than what's needed. Okay, if you just want to know the constraints, only show this part here, then put the help constraints here. Okay, and here's the row GUI ID I showed you earlier. All right. Just want to show you that one. Okay, so back to our Unit 6 DB. So in here, bottom down here, okay. Should have named it differently so it will go on the top. But okay, so let's create a table, and we'll create a simple table with a few columns, and then we'll use the alter to alter those columns. Okay, so we'll do a we just create a student table, student. Okay, and just make sure you close that before you might forget. And we have a student ID. And we'll use the int for this one. Let's say you forgot to set that as a primary key. Okay, so no primary key, and later you decide to change it to primary key. Okay. Let's also have a first name, right? This would be a varchar of, let's just say 25. We have a last name, varchar of also 25. And then we have the grade, and this will be of int again. Okay, let's just say we have those 4 columns. Okay, go ahead and execute that. That should be successful. So if you want to know what it looks like, we can issue the command, execute the sp help the student table, just run that single statement here. So we have this information down here at the bottom, and let me close this one here, and let's zoom in here. So we'll see that it has the table name, the fields in here, the information. Okay, we see that there's no constraints in here. This is primary, but I didn't have it, so nothing here. It's pretty plain, just a very plain table. Okay. So now let's just say you want to alter the student ID and make that as a primary key, right? So let's do that. So in the command, it will be like this. I want to say alter table. Okay, everything in blue here is keywords. Our keywords are required. And the table name is going to be the student table. Okay. And then we want to alter the table. We want to add a constraint. Okay, we're adding a primary key to this table. So we want to use the add, right? If you go back to the page here, I have the syntax. So one of those is add. Okay, so we want to add constraint and then the primary key. Okay, so add constraint. So we'll go here, add constraint. And we need to give it a name. You can't just avoid that, right? So we have to give it a name. And the name will be just, if you follow the convention, it could be anything you want, doesn't really matter. You don't have to follow the convention if you don't want to, but it's ideal that you follow the convention, okay? So it should be a PK underscore of, student ID. So that is the name of the PK. It has to have a name, as a unique name. So you cannot have two of the same key in here. So later on, if you have another table, I think it won't let you use that as a PK either. It has to be a unique name. So then we want to say primary key, and then the column name is going to be the student ID, right? So up here, and then I think that's it, right? So we said the column name, student ID. And you can, if you want to add more columns, you put a comma. If you just decide to say, I want to combine both the student and the first name as a key, a compound key, you can. If you do that, then basically you just put a comma here, just say first name. So now you combine both of those into a single key, okay? But we're not going to do that, so we'll just do one. And if you select that command and just click execute, oh, we have some problem here. Unknowable column. Oh, we have to modify because it cannot be null. Okay. Well, let's see. What if we have to alter it first? Because it can't be null, so it has to be not null. Well, let's see before we add this. Let's do another alter here. So let's just say, see this word, alter table student, and we're gonna follow the alter command here. Okay. Let's see if this one allows us to do it, because I didn't specify the null here. So by default it's a nullable value. It should be not null. So we're gonna say again alter column, and the column is student ID. It's gonna be int, and it should be not null. Okay. So let's copy that, and hopefully this one will execute. Can either.
Because you didn't put ID yet.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, thank you. So that's successful, and now we can go and see if this one works. Okay, I like that. Execute, and then now that's successful. So one little thing, can cause others. So I didn't catch that, but yeah. So now if you execute the help here, you just put a help constraint here. So we just want to show the constraint. We see that now we have a primary key down here. Okay, call a student ID, we call that, and we didn't set the update and the enable stuff, so that'll be just on default, and then the constraint is just a student ID. That's all. Very simple for that one. Okay. So let's create another table. Let's create a table, maybe courses, and we have a course ID. This would be int. Well, maybe this is like raw char of, let's just say 5 characters, and we'll make this primary, and yeah, that's, so we're gonna make it identity, we leave the as is, and we have a course title. This will be a var char as well of, let's just say 25 characters. It's no and that's it for now, right? This really short one. And go ahead and create that table. So we added another table, courses, and this should have your primary key as the course ID. And if you look in here in the table, let me refresh this. Down here. And let me zoom in, do a magic zoom now. Bam, there it is. If it's not close enough, I can do some more. I can go one more, right? Having fun here. Okay, so under the courses table, I have the keys. There's a foreign key, primary key here, right? If you notice, they have a long string of text there, just to make that unique. Because I cannot have the same course here in the student table. If I duplicate that, it will not allow. So one database has a unique primary key for each record. I mean, for each table. So you can't duplicate that. If you do, it will throw an error, say, oh, that PK already exists. Okay? So, we got that. And then now, we want to alter this courses table. Let's just say that we want to go back and we want to create a new column in here. And the column would be like the student ID, right? So eventually that student ID will be a foreign key to the student table. So let's just say alter here, the table courses, okay? And we want to add column. No, I mean not the column name, just add. Add is only understood. So when we add itself like that, that means you just basically, if you look at this command here, it's just add and then the column name and then the data type and so on, right? So you don't put constraint in other words. There's no add column in here. That's you. So I want to add a column called student ID of type, it will be like type int. And it's nullable, so you can leave it as default, it'll be nullable. If you want to also force that, you can say null, right? It can be, it can have no records, no data. So you just select that command and click execute. And then now the table courses should have, let me duplicate this table here. So if you show that table there, you see that it should be have the student ID here, right? And then the int in here, and it's null. Okay, we just added that new column to the table. It always adds the end of the table. Again, the order as is not important in the database table. Okay, it doesn't matter what order you have. But usually when you create a table, you always add the IDs in the front. It just looks nicer that way. But it doesn't matter how you have it. It could be in any order. Okay, so we got that done. And then the next part is we want to alter again. I want this student ID to be a reference key, right? A foreign key that will point to the parent table of the student. Okay, so we alter that one more time. Alter table courses, and we're going to add a constraint because foreign key, we add foreign key, primary key, or check. All these are constraints. Okay, constraint, and we give it a name because it's going to be a foreign key. So we put the FK for foreign key underscore. We have it so that it's in the courses full table, and then the key is going to be student ID. So that's the name of the foreign key. And then now you have to put the keyword foreign key is required. Okay, the foreign key is required, but when you create a table like from up here, you don't have to put the keyword foreign key. It's understood. You just put the references and then you put the column name of that other table, and then you'll find. But if you alter it, you have to put the foreign key in here. And the key for the column is going to be the student ID. And again, by convention, it's always good to put the same column names in the child and in the parent tables. Okay, it's easier. If it's not the same, maybe you want to call it a little bit similar. At least have the keyword student ID in there somewhere, so you know. Okay, and then the next word will be the references. So the foreign keys. This is the table. This is the column inside the courses table. Okay, not the parent table. So the internal field references the other table, which is the student table, and then you specify the column in there. It's going to point to the student ID, which is the primary key inside of the student table. Okay? So again, alter table name, add a constraint, give it a name, the foreign key, which column is it, what columns. Okay, if you want to, so if the student table has two fields, this and the first name, right? Then I have to specify that here as well. Another field. It doesn't have to be student, but it could be like whatever that is, right? You have to match. The number of columns have to match. So I think that's this should be it. If you run the command and click execute. So now we have altered the student ID to be a foreign key. So you go back to the courses again here, run it. Execute, so you show more information, but if you look down on the bottom here, you see that we added the foreign key student here. This is the name that we create. We didn't have the action delete in here. Its default is always no action. It's a safer way. You could change this, but it's cascade or whatnot. And that is, if you look in the code here, I didn't show here, but somewhere down here, right here, right after you add the foreign key reference table here, you can say on delete. When delete, you can say cascade or no action. Okay, and also when you update it, you can say cascade or no action. So again, this is bidirectional. Okay, since we didn't put it, the default will be just no action. Okay. So Um, yeah, it should be. Yeah, it should be available. Were you able to? Did you see my comment? Yeah, you should be able to see that. Maybe not in the thing, but it's a property column on the right side or on the bottom below it. Okay, maybe we'll see that later. Okay. Okay, so we added these constraints in there. So now, before we go on a break, I want to show you how you delete. Right? You can also delete constraints. You can add them. You can also delete them. The only thing that you cannot delete is, I think. You can. Well, no, I don't think you can drop primary key though. We'll see. We'll see if you can. So let's just say I want to reverse this, and I want to remove the foreign key from the student here. Okay. So let's go down here. To drop, to delete the foreign key, is use the word drop after alter table courses, and then we'll put drop constraint. Just the opposite of add constraint, drop constraint. Now when you drop it, you have to know the actual name. That's why this is unique, right? If you don't know the name, you can't drop it. I mean, it doesn't work like, drop this column called student and then reference the student ID here. Okay. So when you drop it, you reference the actual name here. So when you create it, you know that that's what it is. If you don't know what the field is, then you can always issue this command to find out what those keys are. If you go here, and if you find it, okay, the key I want to drop is this one here. You can highlight that, you can copy it, right? And then you can go into your code and paste it here. Right? So you have the exact name. Because if it's a system generated, you can see down here, it's pretty long. I mean, you can try to type that if you can, it's okay, but I might just copy and paste it here, right? So now I can just say alter this and then drop the constraint called FK. If you want to drop multiple ones, just put a comma and then put a next key there, and you can drop multiple constraints. Okay? But since I only have one, we can just go ahead and drop that, and then execute, and then there it is gone. So now if I go back and look at the SP courses, execute that, F5 to execute, and then now it's gone. Okay? So you can drop it that way. You can drop columns too, like I just showed you, right? If you decided that, you don't want that student ID anymore, the column here anymore inside the courses, then we can go ahead and drop that as well. Again, we go here, say alter table, courses. I want to drop the column, right? So if you go back here again to our command, so we have the drop column name, and then followed by the column name, drop constraint, and followed by the constraint name. Okay? So drop column, and which column you want to drop, or columns you want to drop. You can drop multiple columns. It doesn't be just one. I want to drop the student ID, and if you want to drop a different one too, let's say I want to drop also the course title, right? Just for fun. And then we just alter that command, run it, execute, and there we have it. We dropped two columns from that courses, and now we have only just the single column course ID. So we lost two in there. I forgot to add some data first and then delete it, so we could see the effect of losing those records, those data. But just be careful when you drop this one. Okay, any questions on these creating columns, add constraints, basically just the primary key, foreign key?
I was wondering, setting your primary key as not null, is that redundant? Doesn't the primary key
Oh yeah, well, because initially when we create this table here, I didn't set to not null, so it's not unique. And then when you alter it, it expects that column to be unique first. So that's why I have to alter, make sure it's already unique. It's not null.
Well, when you're first creating a
Oh,
table.
oh, yeah,
and then
not
you
UDM,
listed
sorry.
out primary key and then you put not null, isn't that, is there a point?
No, right. When you create it, right, it's optional, because so like when I create this way, if I put primary key, right, so I don't have to put not null anymore. I know I had it in the assignment, but you don't have to, because it'll automatically change to a not null. A good question. I was thinking about unique thing, but yeah. So no, it's not required. But the way we had it was we didn't set to null, not null. So good question. Thank you.